honey, if you thought that I rambled and digressed in my prior videos, wait till you see this video. I'm gonna try to keep this as quick and concise as a rambling lunatic can. Rich just recently did a collaboration with Trisha Paytas. But first things first, I gotta give credit where it's due. Back in May, when all the stuff happened with Nikocado, Avocado, and Trisha, you could have never made me believe that she was gonna apologize to Nick. And she has. Because when I'm wrong, I have no qualms admitting it. I'm wrong most of the time anyway. Now, whether that is genuine, none of my business. That's only for Nick to decide. Going back to Trisha and Rich, first of all, before anybody even tries to come for me, I absolutely adore Rich Lux. This lipstick right here is love you so much. Hold on, hold up, let me show y'all. Clock at the house. Once I just found out that he's from here, honey, he became family to me. Because in this house, we stand Rich Lux. But we know how I feel about Trisha. The collab that they did on her channel yesterday, a couple of things about it upset me. The first, she came for Peter Monn. The second thing, I feel like she disrespected Rich Lux by putting him in that kind of position. You could see in the video that Rich was visibly uncomfortable. Peter has always seen the good in Trisha Paytas. Because of that, I wanted so badly to see it too. There have been times when I felt so disconnected from everyone else in the world. Peter got me through some sleepless nights. If you know Peter Monn, you know he has a main channel that's a drama channel, but he also has a channel called Peterisms where he just kind of tells stories about growth and just kind of gives you perspective on different stuff. And he also has a vlog. And yes, it is just like a podcast. Him just driving around in his car at night, just talking about life and telling stories and stuff. And whenever I was so isolated from everybody else, I always felt close to Peter during those times. It felt like I was just riding around in the car at night with a friend, just listening, because he didn't judge. I didn't owe him any explanations. I didn't, you know what I mean? Anyway, we're not gonna keep going into all that. But I have a special bond with Peter. I mean, he doesn't know me, but those other two channels, they really show who he is as a person. Peter and Trisha had collaborated back in February. They were friendly, they were friends. So back in May, whenever Nikocado exposed her for her ghosting, just the horrible treatment following 2 years after that, Peter's audience was like, we know you're friends with Trisha, but what are your thoughts on this? And, you know, again, you have to remember that before Peter knew Trisha, before Peter knew any of his YouTube friends, he was just a guy with a camera, just like any of us. So YouTube is a social media platform. If you have an account to watch, you have an account that you can upload on. It doesn't take any kind of special qualification. You just literally make a video and upload it, and you have a channel. I think that Peter felt an obligation to his audience, but he also did so with respect for his relationship with Trisha. He tried to reach out to Trisha, and she never responded. Let the record reflect that. It was May 14th that he made that video about the ghosting situation, and very respectfully, you know, to both parties. And then the next day he made another video where he kind of was, I don't want to say forced, but the response that he got from his audience, because I remember watching that and thinking whoa, Peter, I'm shocked that you didn't go into the meat and potatoes of what this is really about. It's not about the ghosting, it's about the way she treated him. But I didn't say anything because, again, I understood his position, you know. And also I didn't know if he knew the whole story. So he comes back the next day, and this just solidified the way I feel about Peter. So he comes back and he's like, you know what, I made a video yesterday, and I don't know why, but I didn't go into as much detail as I should have about it. You know, he mentioned again, excuse me, that he had tried to get a hold of Trisha. He couldn't. He also divulged that he had kind of been DMing with Nick too. He went into it. He very fairly and very respectfully, but basically he kind of held Trisha accountable for the way that she acted, gently. He wasn't bashing her or trying to trash her name on YouTube. He was just like, come on, Trisha, you know, you owe him an apology. You know, he stuck his neck out risking his friendship with Trisha to do the right thing for another human being. That's who Peter Monn is. That's why I follow Peter Monn. Again, so the first video he made was on the May 14th. The second one was the next day on May 15th. Let's note that Trisha went on Perez Hilton's channel on the 17th, okay? And that's significant. In that interview, and nobody ever really like made a big deal about this, but in that interview, like she basically said that she wasn't friends with Peter anymore because he had made the video about Nikocado. She didn't name him by name, but she gave enough detail that like you knew she was shading Peter. She was just saying like basically she couldn't be friends with him anymore because he made a video about her. So that's important, and you'll find out why in a minute. Because later on, whenever everything happened, if you recall, she was all over the place video-wise. She was harassing the hell out of Jason Nash. She was telling stories about her mental illness. She was going through substance abuse issues, and just like every day you were getting like a different video, and it was just all over the place and crazy. Like basically she was having like a mental break. There was one day that she laid in that bed with a head cold, and we know she had a head cold because her mom had a head cold 2 days before, and she made a video saying like, oh man, I gave Trisha my head cold. So if you didn't pick up on that, she's laying in her bed and she's got this head cold, and like she tried to play it off like those were her opiate withdrawals. Now she had been claiming that she had been clean from opiates since May the 8th. I think this was like towards the end of May maybe, but she was trying to appear as though like she was in acute opiate withdrawal at that point. She offended an entire community of people who had like really gone through opiate withdrawals. So Peter, being a person who speaks out a lot about recovery, he's been in recovery for, if I'm not mistaken, in December it'll be 25 years clean of all substances. So Peter made a video because again, his audience was pushing him to do so. If I didn't make this clear earlier, Peter has a platform because of his audience. So he's got an obligation to his audience. Not, I don't want to say like before Trisha, but I mean, he made these friendships after he started this channel. So I don't think it would be very genuine if he just ignored Trisha's shenanigans when his audience is like, hey, you know, like, let's talk about this. Trisha said in her collaboration with Rich that Peter said she was lying. Peter never once came out and said, Trisha, you're lying, you weren't in withdrawals. What he did say, though, was, we know that Trisha has an established history of trolling people. We're watching her have a pattern of trolling right before our eyes. There was so much speculation about whether or not she was in opiate withdrawal at that time. That's all he said, like, hey, Trisha, if you're trolling, this isn't funny, but if you're not, I'm here for you. Very respectfully, very, very gently, very, very compassionately. Accountability, being called to accountability set her off. In her collab with Rich, she basically is just, he said I was lying. And let me interject here and say that, Trisha, nobody doubts that you have got some serious mental health and substance abuse problems. Nobody's doubting that. But it would be very intellectually dishonest if we didn't acknowledge how much you embellish and exploit every detail of your life for views and attention the way you always have. So whenever you're taking something that seriously, now, yeah, it's your issue, but just because you don't take it seriously doesn't mean that other people who have suffered through it don't take it seriously, and you offended a large part of your audience. Again, like, we know that you have substance abuse problems, that you if nothing else is glaringly obvious about Trisha Paytas, it's that she's got this huge void that she's just trying to fill by stuffing whatever she can. Substances, men, food. Jason Nash, was he anything more than another drug to her? Because watching her try to withdraw from him cold turkey was like witnessing an exorcism. So if there was one thing that I could say to Trisha Paytas, it would be, Trisha Paytas, Peter risked his friendship with you to try to do the right thing for Nikocado. You said that you know, you liked him when he was lighthearted, and if he would be lighthearted, that he would do better in life. First of all, that 31-year-old you would try to tell a very evolved 47-year-old Peter Monn, how he can do well in life is fucking hilarious, first of all. You know, Peter is very lighthearted. He's very lighthearted on that main channel where he talks about the drama. I'd say 95% of the time, it's appropriate to be lighthearted. But Peter also, as an adult with integrity and character, understands that sometimes it's time to go deep. And that's what he did. Peter Monn was not the friend that you deserved. Peter Monn was the friend that you needed. Since my mother ever taught me was the significance and importance of friendships in my life. And she demonstrated that all the time, but also the importance of being a good friend back. But can I sit here and admit to everybody that I've messed up, like my own shortcomings separated me and isolated me? Was I maybe not the best friend to my friends? Absolutely. And I have a lot of amends to make for that. I lost my mom 2 months before I turned 40. And my mother's untimely death kind of solidified and redrove that point home. How important all of the connections in this life are. How precious life is and how quickly time goes, and how important it is to just maintain and cultivate every connection that you make in this life that you're so grateful and blessed to have. Maybe you'll learn that soon. Of all the things I want to tell Rich Lux, because one of these days I'm gonna get to talk to Rich Lux, I'm gonna get to tell him all kind of stuff. But if I could only tell Rich Lux one thing right now, I hope that you got the very clear signal that Trisha sent you with that collab, that the moment you're not a yes man to her, you'll be outcast too. You'll be cast aside and she'll be bashing you. So keep that in mind. And Rich, I know that you're a diplomat, but I also know that there's a game that sometimes has to be played on this platform. And I'm not knocking you. I am so proud of you for how far you've gotten. Please don't forget your roots. How important your friends were that were there when you didn't have as many subscribers as you did now before all the collabs. Quite a few of your YouTube friends, they didn't need you to have everything that you have now to collab with you. I would tell Nick Ocado the same thing I told Rich. And if I could only say one thing to Peter Monn, it's, if you're ever in Houston, I know where there is a Chinese buffet right by a game room. We don't have casinos in Texas, but we have game rooms. We're gonna hit that Chinese buffet, and we're gonna hit that game room, and then we're gonna ride around and drink Polar Pops all night. Good night, you guys.